My dear friends, I have another movie review for you. Since 2024 is my year to explore the filmography of Mel Gibson, to catch up on his films that I haven't seen before. I just finished watching The Patriot for the first time, and dear sweet Jesus, this thing, wow. Now, I suddenly understand why I've seen people online, particularly on Facebook, making memes and posts about how amazing the Patriot movie is. I get it now. Believe me, I get it. If there's ever a movie that the term intense applies to, it's this movie. Every scene for over 2.5 hours. Unrelenting intensity where the air is so thick with it that you could cut it as easily as with a butter knife. And so in case you haven't seen it, the basic setup is that Mel Gibson plays a relatively well-to-do farmer. He's the widowed father of 7 kids. And this is in the American colonial era where the British still ruled the 13 colonies. This one takes place in South Carolina. Well, the Revolutionary War is happening. There's people that want to go to war. He doesn't because he's seen war before and he has to take care of all these kids. One of his kids wants to go join the rebels. One of his kids winds up getting shot by the British over the kid that tried to go join the rebels, and hijinks ensue. But my God, there's a such thing as a perfect movie where everything works as intended. The Joker is, in my opinion, a perfect movie. There's not a wasted scene. There's no brown notes. There's no weak points in the film. And we definitely have that here with The Patriot. So when I say intense, I mean every single scene is written sharply, maximizes the conflict going on in the scene, and the stakes are always high. Now, this can only be successfully pulled off if every part of each of those scenes is perfect. And boy, do we have it. The dialogue is arguably better than the best that any of the Lethal Weapons could pull off. And that's saying something. The performances, there's not even a mid-grade performance from any of the actors. They're all top shelf. It doesn't matter if it's a little girl that about made me cry, if it's an old man that amused me, and everyone in between. Every actor in this thing hit it dead on, delivered those lines perfectly, and each of the scenes were centered around some significant, deeply impactful scenario that can happen in the stage of one's life. Whether it's getting married, whether it's losing a child, whether it's a triumph, whether it's a funny joke, whether it's being left alone, whether it's finding new friends, whether it's battle, whether it's pulling a clever con on somebody. This movie has the goods. And you might have noticed that some of those topics, while they were intense, they weren't all universally bad. They weren't all universally negative experiences. And this movie does a great job of punctuating the really bad stuff with some good stuff. There's some jokes in here, and the levity is very much appreciated, and the delivery is perfect. Now, notice that this was directed by Roland Emmerich, who's usually not great, but who is capable of making a good movie. But this was at a time when Mel Gibson's power was at its strongest, and so I wonder who was really calling the shots here, because everything seems so perfectly well realized, and it felt a lot like the kind of flavor that Mel Gibson brings to a movie, particularly when he gets to call the shots. I felt like I was transported to the world that this was happening in. And while the story of the movie isn't strictly true, the things that happen in the movie happen to real people, and plenty of them, and unfortunately will again, that this is effectively a true story without being a true story. So if you've seen The Patriot before, watch it again. If you've never seen it, believe me, go see this thing.